We are starting our session today on the topic of achieving realism through procedural techniques on the hard surface. What does come to our mind when we say procedural? Like tileable textures which we can apply on everything. So before starting, we'll know about where we're going to do this kind of texture. So I have choose a software called Substance Painter. So in procedural texturing, texturing in a hard surface in Substance Painter, we need to know some points. So why we are using Substance Painter? Procedural texturing, we will know about the procedural texturing, sculpting complex details on a simple base mesh, working with smart materials, procedural masking, and finally rendering with array. So this will be our point to describe our topic today. So why Substance Painter? Why I have choose Substance Painter? And nowadays all of us are using Substance Painter very much because Substance Painter's workflow is non-destructive. So non-destructive means you can texture, you can experiment as much as you like, then jump back to the previous stage if you don't love what you create. So these procedural textures, by using these procedural textures, you can texture a material, texture a object, what you like, and if you don't like, you come back to the basic stage. So this is the advantage here. You can always find your way back. So this is what it means. Its advanced masking and procedural texturing tools allow you to make textures that are much harder to achieve in purely 3D programs like Photoshop. So in Photoshop, what we see, we just take a texture and put it off on our UV map, and then again we will export it out, and then again check in the 3D rendering software. Then if we don't like, we will come again back to the our Photoshop, and again we will change. So there's a lot of guesswork in those 2D softwares. So Substance Painter removes that guesswork and saves our time. The most important is it has a real-time viewport which supports PBR workflow. So PBR workflow is a physical-based rendering workflow. This helps us reducing guesswork and accurately creating the maps and rendering them at the same time. So why we are saying this PBR workflow? It's it works according to how the light reacts on our real life. Means the PBR that means that you can easily check all the maps and the render outputs as we see in real life. Basically, PBR, PBS, there are two types of in PBR or PBS. PBR means physical based render, or we can also call it PBS, physical based shading. So these have two types of workflows: metal roughness workflow and specular glossiness workflow. So today mainly we will be working on metal roughness workflow, which we will have specific maps like base color, roughness metallic map followed by our general normal map and height maps. Into our next point. So in this diagram, you can see both the maps and the difference, metal roughness and specular glossiness. So we will working on this workflow today. Texturing with substance and procedural texturing. So thinking about procedural, what comes in our mind is tileable. So tileable textures can be used in wide varieties. So what are procedural textures then? And algorithmic way to describe a texture. Unlike a bitmap in which the texture is represented as a bitmap, or procedural texture describes the texture mathematically. So when we turn on Substance Painter, first thing it asks us to do is to bake. It's here to bake with this world space normal, ambient occlusion, curvature, position, and thickness. From here, we'll do bake. So what is the importance of this bake is when we are baking, the software is determining what is the position, where is the edge, where we can get some contacts and everything. So these maps will help those procedural textures in creating a beautiful texturing renders. So you can see uh, in internet we will find a lot of procedural textures, especially if you search on texture.com and another website called Megascan. You'll see this kind of material balls with when we'll click on that, we'll have a base color, roughness, normal, height. So these are all procedural textures. So these are made in such a way that you can tile it and it won't show you any edges. So these are very useful while texturing. So coming to our next point is sculpting complex details. So before going to this point, I'll go to the software and show you. So this is a project which I did for the demonstration. We can see it is a very basic model which doesn't have any kind of height and extra details. So what I did is, if I texture it likewise, means adding just a texture on it, it will look very procedural and very basic. So like if we go to our shelf and we put a material on, we'll go to a layer and type leather. So we have a lot of leather textures. Wait a minute, it is a bit slow. So I'll do it in a different way. Yeah. Hi. So if you put on a leather texture on it, so it will look a very basic. So how to make this more realistic and close to the real knife cover? So we need some height details like that leather wobble stitching details, any emblems or any metal works which are been done on this leather to make it a more real. So see how I did this. So these are the height details which are completely done in Substance Painter by using these materials, using these alphas and some textures which I have imported from outside. So now I will show you step by step. Before that, I will explain you things. So generating height map using textures, we can generate nice height details using textures, directly inserting textures to the channel. Simple high pass and level nodes can be used to tweak it out. So it is very simple. If we use a simple texture, let's say I have some textures over here. I want this inside Substance Painter. So before for importing, we can just drag and drop, and it will ask us to define what it is. So we'll go there and use texture. We can select both and mark as texture. And here need to assign for the current session you need this textures or for this project. So I'll assign it for the project. So I'll import it. So we have these textures over here. So how can we create a nice texture details from by just importing textures from outside? So we'll just take a fill layer. So here we can see all the properties of the fill layer. So first we need only the height channel to be visible. So now what we said, just dragging and dropping it out will work. So see, this is what we are getting from our texture. So now we can tweak it directly in our 2D view. Let me show you how we can tweak that. So this is a tool, a projection tool which we are getting from this. So we can tweak it by this, like this. We can rotate it like this and to get the details. So now we are getting some details, the leather from a texture. So what we can do now is Substance Painter gives us a chance to work in all these channels together. So base color, height, roughness, metallic, normal map. So we have only added this to our height channel. So we will come to our height channel. What we can do is we just reduce the opacity of this. So you see, beautifully we can bring out a good detail. And if we turn this off, not only we have those leather details, we have these kinds of designs also on the top of it, which we can see. So how to create these designs? It is very easy. I'll turn off the layer. I'll take another fill layer. This will be very useful while creating. You just see that you are modeling in Substance Painter as well as texturing it. So what we will do, go to our base color channel, go to our paint properties. We need only the height details for now. So now this time I won't drag and drop that one. I'll just increase the height. So by increasing the height, I'll take a black mask. So while taking the black mask, and I will take this, take a alpha. So let me insert this one again as alpha. So I inserted that previously as a texture. So we need that as alpha to work on that. So we'll do that alpha and do that the same thing again. So now what we see, that alpha in our brush. So before stamping it out, we'll go to the properties and see everything is fine or not. So before doing that, so what I will do is add this one. Just it's so simple. You can see as it came as like it is modeled in it. So coming to our next point here, we'll go to the layer channel. See, those leather textures are also coming on the top of on the top of this alpha, on the displacement, design displacement. So what we can do is, if you go to the height channel, if you go to the height channel,
Surajit,
you will
just a
see.
minute. I
Yeah,
request
yeah,
everyone to please be on mute.
Marketing में तो good लगा.
I request everyone to please be on mute. Swap. I request you to please be on mute. The session is going on. Please. Surajit, you can continue.
yeah, sure. So you can see the leather textures which I have done previously are coming on the top of the alpha which I've used for the design. So to avoid this, we can do, you can see in the height channel, we'll go to the height channel because we are still working on a height. So we'll go to the height channel and we'll see this is in a linear dodge. So what we can do is we do it normal, and what we need is to increase the height details. So this way we are avoiding the height details on the top of it. So now come, I'll elaborate this one more. Let's come to this point. Generating height map with alpha. So I already showed you, I generated a height map with a alpha. We can just take a fill layer and increase the height parameter and take a black mask and simply use the alpha as a white mask. Immediate result will be on the viewport as you have seen. So next point is our anchor points. What are anchor points? I will come to this point later. So first I'll go to our next, then I will go to our next point. So working with smart materials. What are smart materials? These are advanced layer preset which have set of materials and procedural textures, procedural mask grouped together. These presets can be used to quickly share across projects a similar texturing process while keeping the result different. It, it adapts to the mesh topology. And what I mentioned just starting this, if you are starting a project in Substance Painter, what you need to do is, first thing is to bake the maps, and these smart materials only will work when you will bake the map. Then the software will know what this object is, what are its edges, what are its contacts, and what is its position. So coming to the smart material, it adapts your mesh topology. So with those maps, it maps your object, maps the topology according to that. So I have already baked the maps, so I can pull out one smart material from the library and just show you how it works. Let's say leather. Going to the leather, you can find a lot of leather smart materials already there. So we'll select this one, as we can click it and drag and drop to our layer menu, right? So see, we don't need to take any procedural layer, anything. It already can find its edges due to these maps are previously baked. So what we can do is just go, if we need, you'll find all the textures. We'll go to the base color first. You'll notice all the colors which are there. So you'll notice layer by layer how a smart material is made. So here is a base color. It is a material. All you see in a smart material are these materials, and these smart masks are combined together to complete a project. So you can see a base color of this material. So this is a simple material which have been used. Now the leather pattern. This is also a fill layer. That means it is a material where you have this leather pattern. And next is edge highlight. So they have given an edge highlight to it by simply using a smart mask. From here they have taken a white fill layer and just added a smart mask. So we can do that also like this. Just add. We have all the properties. So what I will do is I'll go to the 3D view. So here you can see the balance. You can increase or reduce the edge intensity. Now we'll come to our layer and see our next layer. What we have given, we are having damage. So as I say, it is a complete project. These smart materials are a complete projects where you will have dirt, dust, edge breakups within it. So these are created to make our work very fast and easy. So you can see another mask is just added here from this smart masks. So coming to the smart masks, what are smart masks? Procedural masking or smart masks. Smart masks are the set of procedural noise or grunge or or any black and white tileable maps. These maps are completely depends upon the mesh maps like AO curvature. As I said, this map will completely depend upon on the baked maps what we will bake in starting before starting the project. All those AO curvature, position, wall space, normal, especially these three maps are very important. Unlike materials, unlike the smart materials, they can also be used as an effect stack. So these smart materials can be used as an effect stack. So what we see here is an effect stack, and what we see here is a layer stack. So there are two types of layers in it. These are effects and these are normal layers where we put on materials or smart materials in our layer system. Coming to my project. So now you know how we are adding textures, how we are adding details, height details. So moving to this one, how we can add now. I'm gonna show you how we can add an exterior texture to our by not using any smart materials inside. I choose to use a texture from outside, so that I can do also. So that will what that will do is from in this software, all the materials, smart materials are a bit monotonous. If you want it to be more realistic, so then you have to introduce some textures that you like. So I have that texture with me. So I'll add the properties panel over here to explain this out. Yeah. So we have this in only in the height map. So we will turn on the color map also. So now, just like when we are making the height maps, we have dragged and drop it. So the same process, see, the same process, it happens with this also. So what you can see, it is coming on the top of the design and coming in the top of the model. And it is exactly matching with our height details. This is how this placement tool works. So in this material, in all of these channels, once you tweak this placement node, once you tweak the textures with this placement node, the information stays in for all the channels. So now just you can take one filter. Now you can take, there are a lot of filters in, just like any other software, like in Photoshop, we have levels, we have color balance, we have color correct and everything. So you can take a color balance, you will just tweak the color you like. Then you can take a level. So in level channel, what you will see, you have a lot of options. You can isolate the base color and level it up. You can isolate the height and level it up. You can isolate all the 4 channels, 4 to 5 channels. You can level those things. So for now we need the base color. So see, you're getting immediate results. And what you can see, we can rotate light on the viewport and see the exact result. And if we export these maps and to our rendering engine, where we wanna render it finally, so the output will be almost exactly the same. So no, we are eliminating the guessing work what we do in Photoshop. So as a color map, we can now add it on roughness. Before adding the roughness, we'll mask out something like we have our height details in a mask. So we can turn on this layer. So turning on this layer and the base color is giving up a white texture because we don't have anything here. So for now I'm leaving this design. I will come to that later. So now I'm concentrating on the leather part. So in the leather, we have now this channel roughness. So this, let's say I'm okay with the color and the height. Now I want to tweak the roughness. It's too much polished. I guess it should not be like that in a real life. So we'll take a roughness channel and just pull out that texture which we use for height and the color map. So immediately you can see the change in roughness. So according to our how leather reacts to light, so according to that we can set our roughness channel. So we can see the roughness map directly to it. So it automatically desaturates it, and as roughness channel is a grayscale channel, so it automatically desaturates it and gives you the result. So now I want it to react like a leather more realistically. So what we can do is get another level node. Now previously we tweaked the base color. This time we will tweak the roughness. So if I move it out, it will affect the roughness only. See how it's working. Only the roughness. No color map, no color details is getting. I can show you in the base color mode. See if I change this, nothing is happening in the base color. Only it's affecting the roughness channel. So in this leather texture, we can see there are a lot of folds, leather cracks and everything. So we want those cracks and folds to be more rougher than the top part. What we can do, there is an option called invert. As soon as we do it, it inverts the texture we are using. So now you can see it is inverting now. So moving to our material mode. Now we can see it is acting like a real leather before, better than before. So now you can tweak it out as much as you can do it in leather, in the levels, how much roughness you need and all. So now we have a leather. We want some stitch details. So how can we add stitch details? It is very easy in Substance Painter to add a stitch detail on the top of this model. So no need to model a lot. You just require a simple mesh with a good UV. See, you can see the UV mode also. It has a good UV, only one UDIM. And a simple base mesh for in which we can tweak all our details. So now we want a stitch detail. How can we do it? Let's say we'll take another fill layer. Okay, so again turn off those details. We'll turn on the height and I'll take a black mask. So we'll go to all and search stitch. So we have this in our library. So we have the stitch now. So before starting this, we need to tweak some the details, properties of this brush. So we have a lot of properties here. It will act according to my pen pressure and everything. It will have a spacing and like if I have a lesser spacing, if I pull it out on the top of the leather, so it will look like it is just a line we are creating. So we can increase this one and one by one as how the stitch works. So making it more visible, for now I can turn on the color, so it will be more visible to us while we are stitching up. So you can see one thing you can notice. So we want this stitch straight along with the path. I need this stitch to follow the path. So there is an option called follow path. So if you are turning on this follow path option, uh, and now and drag on this area where you require the stitch. I'll need more spacing for that. So we'll increase the spacing and just pull it out according to requirements. And you can see how detailed it is. So another thing now comes the viewport of the Substance Painter. You can see in the texture set settings, you can see a resolution. So what I explained before, that it's a non-destructible. So what non-destructible means is we can go to a lowest level of 128 into 128 map, and we can go to, wait, before it's saving, yeah, we can go to the 4K channel. So now you will see some high detail results on the viewport only. Let it get loaded. I'll keep that loading. I'll come to our template. So I told you I will explain you about anchor points later. So now when we know about our color channel, how to create a color channel, how to create a height channel, so and now we will be knowing how to create these anchor points. These anchor points are very important things. So when we import this model into our viewport, we will have all the edge breakup details on the mesh where it is physically present. Means like according to the mesh maps, it will create those edge wires and everything on the edges of the mesh. So anchor points are the system that you will acknowledge this software about the displacement you have created. So the details you want to add on the top of this displacement, also the edge wires and everything, and on the top of this displacement. So let it get loaded. So we'll work on a lower resolution now because it's not pulling out, working out. So now the concept of non-destructible is clear, right? Because according to our project requirements, we can just click a button and the resolution will be there. So this is the power of procedural texturing. Anytime you can turn on and off your resolution and go back. So turning off these layers, let's say this is our design layer. So I'll name it. Naming is a bit important when you're using anchor points. So this is a layer where we added our design. So we can add an anchor point to this. Where we can find it, we'll right click and find it over here, or on the effect channels we can add an anchor point to it. So design mask. So here we can see our anchor point name is design mask. So it's fine. So for the design mask, what I will do, we will take it to a bit metallic, so you can understand it well. So we'll take a brass kind of layer, we'll turn on the roughness and the metallic also. So we'll feed the channel with full metalness. So now it will react as a metal. See, now it will react as a metal. So as we know, we can get details, we can get edge wires easily through our mesh maps. So if I take a fill layer on top of that, last time what you've seen in that smart material, I will just replicate that here. I will turn on the roughness. I don't need the height channel this time, or maybe we'll need Maybe we'll reduce this. So, and come to edge wear like this color, edge wear color for the leather. So now the smart masks. How the smart masks work, you will know. So select the smart mask carefully according to the material you're using. So we will use a fabric edge damage smart mask on the top of it. Just drag and drop it on the layer. See? So we can see it's working on the top of the mesh, only the model, not on the displacement details or height details which we have made on the surface. So how to make this surface more detailed? So what we can do is we can duplicate this layer. We can come here and easily duplicate this layer. We'll turn off the hide channel. So, and the roughness will increase. Let's take another layer for this. So turn off these layers. It will make it more easy. So let's say we have a metal. Let's say we have a metal texture here, on top of it. Okay, or a painted metal texture here on the top of it. Okay, so we will need edge wear for that. So I will take one steel rough material on the top of it. Sorry, it will be like this. By selecting, you can just add this material to the layer. So now we'll again come to this smart masks channel. So we'll find a smart mask suitable for our paint layer. So now we can see this paint is on this wares are only working on the edge. I want these wares on the top of the design also. So how are we going to do this? First thing, when we have set an anchor point to this, we will need to bring this layer below. This is a must because it will only work when this anchor point is below a procedural layer or a procedural wear layer. So now we have a mask for the full mesh. Now we want this similar kind of details on the top of this. So we'll go to the mask editor. As we have already defined this design as a anchor point. So we'll go to our mask and come down. You will see there is micro height and micro normal. These are micro details. So now we'll come to this layer and click. We will see we can add a lot of micro details from the our library, and beside that you can see an anchor point. So see, you will click on this anchor point, right? And to enable the anchor point, you will go to the mask layer now, and you will see micro details layer channel, which was here. So in the micro details channel, you will see there is a micro height or a micro normal. So we have generally we have added a height details, not a normal detail to it. So we have a height detail in this, the layer of anchor point. So we will turn our micro height on. See, as we just turned it on, it starts working with that. So anchor point is with my height details, the software calculates the curvature, the occlusion, everything for this high displacement detail also. This techniques and everything helped me to achieving a detail which I want to show you. I'll turn off here a height detail like this and a texture detail like this. Let it load up. Yeah, you can see. So I'm gonna show you the layers which I have used. For now, I'm deleting all this. Let be there. I'm grouping this up so it doesn't messes up our layer system. So I'll name this test and turn that off for now. Let it be on the top only. I'll turn on my layer systems. I'll show you how step by step I created this one, this material. Before starting, this is a complete project and you can assign this as create smart material. If I do that, immediately this leather cover will go to my smart material library, will get stored in my smart material library. So now if I turn off this project, see, a smart material is being created. So now what we can do is pull it out and drag it in. Let it get loaded. Yeah, see, all the information of the mask and everything got copied into a single smart material. So this is the power of Substance Painter. You can store everything. You can add this smart material to a different mesh, but the only thing will the painted data, which is not procedural. The places where I have to do the manual paints won't be the same as this as it is working on this one. So you just need to remove those paint datas and just add your own and your material is ready. So this is the way I store every time I do a new project and store a new smart material. So it will help me in the future projects easily creating this leather effects and everything. So now how did I created this step by step? We don't need this now. We will add this up in here. We need a bigger viewport. Let's see, yeah, yeah. See, so I'll turn off all the layers and you will be able to know how this have been achieved. So very basic in the leather. So I have some subfolders to Whenever I see it on future projects after a year, if I open this, so I can understand, I will name everything, so I can understand where I have kept what information and what data. So I have named each and every layer according to that. Turn off everything. So in this project, I have used procedural and a projection technique. Projection means, which I have showed you, bringing up textures from outside and just texturing it out, and just using these, let's say, see, using these placement nodes to place out my textures on the top where it looks good. So I'm turning off all the layers. It will be easy for you. So now starting with the base material layer, coming to the properties panel, you will see these are the information this channel is carrying, starting from the base. Yeah, now my projection. So the way I have showed you, I have added a level for the roughness of HCl perspective. What is HCl? It is a hue, saturation, and lightness. So with this, just you can adjust the hue and color, saturation, and the value or the lightness. Level for the base color, tweaked the level for the base color. So it was quite bright. The texture was quite bright. I needed it with dark for my project requirement. So I leveled it up. High pass. This you can see in the high pass properties bar. I just turn that on for my height. What it does, it controls the height information. So then I have added a blur. So the blurring intensity is on the all the channels. So I blurred the base color also because I needed that a bit blur. So it was quite sharp for my project. So these are only these layer to use to make this outside textures adjustable. These are all effects. These are all effects. These are effect stacks, and these are layer stacks or material stacks. So now I started building slowly the low frequency detail. See, previously it has a high frequency detail which is coming from that information was coming from that this leather texture base color. See, you can see this. And anytime if you don't like this texture, you can drag and drop your own texture and drag and drop on these channels and level it up for your own project. So now building low frequency details. These are low frequency. This bigger details we say them low frequency details. So slowly building them up. Now leather cracks. So what I did is I used this, right, fill. I use these textures only to make this leather cracks. So what happens in leather is the point where it is folded or it has these creases, those places have different color and different roughness for this. So only my reason for using that texture, because it will project on the areas where I want. So similar areas on this layer. So now it was looking quite monotonous. So I've added some variations like this, color variations, and
And
then I added some
then I
surface
added
bumps.
some surface bumps.
You will be able to see like this. See,
Able to
these
see
are small
like
high
this.
frequency details.
Is this
Uh,
JetBrush?
no, no, this is Substance Painter. This is a painting
Okay.
software. Yeah, just like Photoshop, it has a layers, and
Mm.
the advantage is
Can you please,
you can see.
sir,
You can see.
I just joined right now. Can you please just give an overview of the interface? It will be very helpful.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Uh,
Problem.
quick, a quick. So you can see this is a interface of the Substance Painter where we have we can import our model here. So from like if you do a new, you will get this template. You will select. We were doing in metallic roughness projects, so you can select your mesh. You can 3D mesh OBJ file or FBX. You can import it. You can set the document resolution. Don't worry about that document resolution. It can be changed. I have showed you. It can be changed while working. So turn this to OpenGL. It's the latest system for working on normal maps, and these are the just template for importing the mesh. Now this is the layer stack. Just like Photoshop, you can see there are a lot of layers in it. Yeah, I'll come to the layers. See, this is the basic model which I've imported. Then we can do is like take new layer, paint stuffs, just like Photoshop, but in 3D view, where you can see the light falling on the surface, showing the properties. And explaining the interface will be a bit longer, so that will go. Our subject will have we have less time. So for that, I can suggest you some basic tutorials in YouTube. You can go through that and you can have a look after that. So it's a long process going through the interface, because if you are new to Substance Painter, you have to know, right, a lot of things. So I'm explaining it very quickly to you. So here what we did in Photoshop, when we paint a color on the top of the surface, we are painting only the color information. The advantage over here is we have a different color. We can paint all the informations like height, roughness, normal, metal, everything with it. So I'll delete the layer and take a new fresh layer. I'll show you. We'll come to the properties paint. We'll have red. Let's say it be red. Let's say it be rough, and it has a height. So when we paint it, you can see we are painting it with height as well as the roughness as well as the normal information, where we can see this base color, height, metallic. Metallic is black because it's here in the black. So the normal, I'll show you. So see, this is the normal information. This is showing transparent. I will show you this. See, this is the normal information, and as long as with the material information. So you can change it to metallic. You can jot down the roughness. So see, now what I have painted like metallic car paint color. So this is the advantage, and this is what all about Substance Painter. You will get a immediate result of your final render, almost similar result of your final render in this software. So Abhishek, is it a bit clear now?
Yes, I can get some overview of it. I'll check some tutorials also
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah,
Thank
yeah, yeah, yeah. They are very easy. It's a very easy software. You will just kickstart that, and you will get to know how to add all the details and slowly. So we'll come to our point. So how we were building up this, the texturing of this knife cover. So we were in on the surface bumps. If you can't just see the surface bumps because they are very smaller details. So if we turn off all the layers, now you will see I have used a procedural material from this substance and for this smaller leather details on the top of it to achieve a better result. Now a rough surface. So these small layers I have specially added to get more control. So for the rough surface, if you see, I have added this only in a rough channel information and made this a bit rougher. So I need to have some roughness variation on the top of the surface. So that's why I'm adding these kind of individual layers to add, and we'll have a more control over it. So we can reduce the roughness of the that layer without affecting the lower layers. So this is how I planned the things. So now rough AO. So according to the ambient occlusion, it is roughing. It is making the roughness of the surface means see the places where the ambient occlusion, you can more understand with this. See the areas where you are getting a contact. So it is working like that. The rough AO is working like that. So we will come to our next layer. Same roughness variation, only the rough channel is there, and some for more variation I have added those. Worn. Now we come to worn. So when you see when I turn on this layer, you will see, sorry, you will see this worn. So while, so the idea is like when we are using this asset, maybe let consider this is a knife cover for a prince, a warrior prince who is using always hanging it on his waist and in a combat situation and any else situation. So it will get weathered. So when it get weathered, the leather gets damaged. The idea is that it is damaging it layer by layer. So you can see it on the top of the surface, on the edges also, because due to those smart masks which I have used, I've showed you earlier, the smart masks, and I have given these information like color, metallic, roughness, and height, because when a leather gets damaged, it loses its shine and its color also. So you can see according to your project requirements, you can set a color for the wear. So that's why I have included these channels along with the damage, this height layer. So turning off, you will see which of it is going. So for now, you can see the base color also, how it changes according to my layers. See, I've told you earlier we are painting all the 5 channels together. So whatever channel we are turning on here, having the information is going on the top of this model. Coming to our material mode, layers. So we'll turn on the rough. You'll need to see the next layer, leather rough. So previously it was like a bit shiny. So I told you that this is a used leather knife cover. So while it is used, you have to notice the area which will come to contact with other objects, and those areas will get more weathered. So we have this. I have this is a pointed area and the end of this knife cover, and it has a wear over here, and it will get mostly scratched and all, will get all the weathering details on the corners. Now what you can do is on that, I've added some paint information. Now we are coming to the paint information. So along with the procedural layers, when I'm seeing that it is not enough, that the procedural layer is not working fine, and now we need to introduce you to the paint layers. So from here, from in the FX stack, you can add a paint. And now I'll go to the brush and take any brush, like, see, and we'll see the properties when it is white. It's painting because we are painting on a mask FX stack. So this matters actually, and you can easily change the color by typing X on your keyboard. So we need to expose these details, the details in the layer. Okay, the details in the layer. See, when I'm disabling the mask, all the details are coming in front. So now we can paint manually on the top of the surface. So we have a mask preloaded over it. That's why it is working on only the area where I have masked it on the group. So you can see the effect right away in the base color. See, so this is how paint layers work. Now moving to the next layer, dirt. We'll come to dirt a bit later. So let's turn them on so you can easily understand. The dirt is a final layer. So this is another layer in which we have some more leather height details. So you can see only the height layer is turned on. We'll come to layer. See, you can easily notice some height information is coming on. So adding more details to the leather. My idea was to adding more details to the leather to make it real, make it look like it is used from long time. Stitch line. So what I did for the stitch line is, this is interesting stuff, and stitch dirt. I'll turn on all the. So I've showed you earlier the stitch line, how I painted the stitch line. So what I did here, I'll show you quickly. Take a fill layer, add a black mask. You can see, before that I'll show you, below this stitch line, you'll see these some tensions are forming up on the leather. Means I have added some height details. When you stitch on the surface of uh, the leather will give you a feel of that it has been tied together. These two layers are tied together due to this stitch. So along, and it has to happen along with the stitches. So how, there is a trick on that. So what I did is just took this fill layer, just I showed you previously. I'll turn off all the layers and the height. See, I'm taking a negative value. All, go to the stitch brush. Okay, let's first have a black mask, because everything will work. The alpha will work on the mask only. So now I'll quickly go to the properties pane and arrange things up. Follow path on, and the spacing I will like this. Before painting up, so there is another thing which is turned on, which is size cheater. You have to turn this off, and the angle would be 0, and the size will be 0. Keep default. Okay, angle jitter was on, so now we can start it up. Will follow my path where I am painting it. So you can see the stitch details. What we can do for the tension, for making this tension very easily, but I will go to the layer where I painted these things. I'll go to the mask and take a effect. So like add filter. Now where the filter effects, you will click here, go to the properties. You will see immediately the filter is empty. So now you can go here and add a blur. Now you can notice how I created these tensions, right? These are only effects which are achieved by this technique, nothing but this technique. So you have the height information, you have the mask information of this and this layer. So you can easily copy and paste this layer. You don't need the blur this time. And for the stitch, you will be needing color and this information, height information. So, so what we will do in the layer now, we'll go to the height channel. You'll see it's linear dodge. We'll go to normal, so that the layer beneath it won't affect that. So come to the properties fill. I can reduce this. So now you can see a stitch with a tension. Both. These are the easy tricks which you can easily achieve in Substance Painter. So by using that mask only, I added this dust and dirt detail. So adding up the stitch like that, stitch edge. Next layer we have a stitch edge. So this is also a surface tension layer which has been simulated through this effects, like height with height channel, rough channel, and the color channel. So when we see we are stitching on the edge, not only the surface gets like there is a lot of tension over here, the side of the leather will also will come out. So for emulating that, I added this layer stitch edge. which have a whole lot of information on my height, right? So only the height is affected. See, is it is showing that my stitch is so tight that this leather is coming out as a surface tension only. Leather edge. Now, the what was the model was a very base model. So to make it useful to our project, we need this edge. So we all know a leather can't be means how the leathers are forged into this leather covers. So we have leather sheets and we fold them and stitch them to make this leather cover. So our model was a kind of flattened cylinder. So we can't show a leather cover like a flattened cylinder because leather doesn't comes in that shape. We'll get the leather in stitches or in me. So we'll talk about the edge line. So we have to believe that there should be an edge for this cover where the this whole leather strap has been folded and stitched together. So that's why I created this channel, and then sorry, leather edge. That's why I created this layer. And this is as it is a edge, it will get more, it will get rubbed more, it will get weathered more. So now leather separation. So previously, what we are seeing that this is like a mold, like we can't see anything, like it is a similar mesh. So for that I added this line leather separate. I named it as a leather separate. So this is showing that yeah, there is two layers of leather which has been stitched together. This is what the simple idea to make this. So now the design which I have added. Now we are coming to the design, and the similar way how we did that anchor points, I did the design too like that. So to get these edge wear informations, see, I'm getting all those. Now the buttons, I've added a brass material directly from the shelf. There are a lot of materials over here. I just added, clicked and drag and drop and just masked it. So now before coming to this point, I'll come to the metal pins. So I have some metal pins attached with this. So if we are attaching these pins this to stick those layers together, there should be a tension on the leather surface. So I've added a height information to it, as you can see from the previous layers also. So this was the almost done, and some dirt details lately. So this was the whole idea to make this project out.